Hey everyone, it's Matthew here, your instructor. Now, if you're my online students, welcome up. If you're my students for in class, my section 3 or 4, or any other sections I'll be teaching as we go along, welcome. This is a test review that my in-class students have gotten already, and this is a benefit for my online students and for anyone who wants to watch it, regardless, for refresher and reminder. So this is the midterm review for the COMP5062, the Web Design for Optimization course. And essentially, I'm going to walk through some key things. Now, my in-person classes, I've gone through this. This will make more sense. But my online students, I've made some changes. And this review will be what you'll be doing and some very important things for your midterm, which I've made things a bit easier. So bear with me, work through this, and it'll be all more clear as we go along. All right, so midterm review. Obviously, it's a midterm that is worth about 20%. Now, obviously, online, I think it's 14. It's a little bit different. Regardless, it's not a small test. It is a midterm. By default, the online students have a little bit longer to do it because of the context of how their exam will be, or midterm will be orchestrated. Whereas my in-class students have about 2 hours to do it. But essentially, you have more time than you actually need. And one of the big things that I want to state here is throughout the course, we had you install XAMPP, and some students install a program called Bitnami, which essentially do the same thing. If you've installed XAMPP and you've created the database and you've accessed WordPress and you're sending me files, which is great because you can see the back end of WordPress, that is awesome. If you notice here on the slide here for the intro, there will be no need to install a new version of XAMPP or Bitnami for the midterm. So essentially, in years past, students had to go through the whole process. They had to install XAMPP, they had to install a fresh new install of WordPress, they had to connect the database and do a bunch of stuff. We'll be updating the course and doing adjustments. So what we're doing this term is basically removing the need to do the database the same way, because we basically found a plugin that will help you as students export and import a full version of WordPress quite easily and simply without having to mess with the database the way we had to do it before. So, an important thing for my online students and my physically in-person students for my classes, you do not need to reinstall XAMPP or reinstall Bitnami if that's the program you're using. What you need to make sure you have on your install of WordPress is a plugin called the AllinOne WP Migration plugin. That's a plugin that is critically important, okay? So for example here, if I've got an example of WordPress, an install of WordPress here, you need the plugin that goes like this. It's called AllinOne WP Migration. Now let's just say you don't have the plugin. You can click Add New and search plugins, AllinOne WP Migration, and there's the plugin. I already have it, it's active, but if you don't have it, make sure you have it for the midterm. Make sure you have it installed, and essentially once you have it installed and it's active, you'll have it set here. It will say deactivate because you already have it active, and on the left hand side you'll see the all-in-one WordPress migration tool or plugin. So for my online students, make sure for your midterm you have your XAMPP running and you can access the backend of WordPress, which is what you see here. And if you're using Bitnami, those students know exactly who they are, then make sure you can access your Bitnami and you can access the backend of WordPress. So you can, obviously, if you needed to, create posts, pages, and media. So that's a really, really important thing. So make sure you have this plugin, the all-in-one WordPress migration plugin, active and downloaded. So how this works is, for your midterm, I'll be going through more things, but for your midterm, essentially, you will download a file. And essentially, that file will be active or available to you in the time slot for which your exam is. So for example, my online students were given 4 different time slots to do their midterm, and they've emailed me back saying, hey, I want time slot 1, 2, 3, or 4. So let's just say you're a student that's in time slot 1. So time slot 1 is available. It opens up at 1 o'clock. When 1 o'clock on August 18th rolls around, you'll have access to these 4 files. And the F2018 WordPress test materials is a very important folder. So when you download that folder, it will look something like this. You'll get a zip folder. You'll have to uncompress it or extract those files. And then inside of it, you'll have some files that look like this. Now, you may have more or less, but the most important thing you have to look at right now is this file. So it is called WP install username user password COMP5062. You have to find this zip folder inside of the file, and you're going to you're going to uncompress that folder. Now you've got a file here that's called localhost WordPress ... and it's a .wpress folder or a WPress file. It's one right here. So this is where this WP all-in-one migration tool comes in. What you're going to do is you're going to import this file that you're going to download from Vanch Online when it's your time to do the midterm. So how to do that? So on your existing WordPress install that's working, you're going to go to the all-in-one migration tool. You're going to hit import. Once you've clicked import, you're going to say, where do you want to import that file from? Well, for one, you can click import and choose the file, or you can just drag and drop the file there. And what's going to happen is WordPress is going to say, wait a second here, are you sure you want to install this file? Before you hit proceed, you have to think of two things. If you have created content on this WordPress install, this is a really important thing. If you've created content, for example, I've got posts and I've got pages that I've created. So let's just say this is the start. I got ahead and I wanted to start working on my final project. So let's just say in your WordPress install, you've got files that you don't want to lose. Make sure you export this before you import anything, because once you import the exam file, it's going to overwrite this whole website. So if you want to keep this existing website because you don't want to lose the pages of the work you've done, then what you need to do is export this WordPress file before you import the one for the midterm. So let's just say you want to export this file, all the work you've done. You'd go export to, file, and then what it's going to do is it's going to take the whole WordPress install you're working on and compress it into one file. And it's going to say, hey, download localhost, hit download localhost, and then you're going to save that file. Remember where you saved it, because that is a file that you need to put your website back to the way it was. So now let's just say we've got our copy, which we just did. I have just downloaded my test version, I've uncompressed it, and I've got my test clean install. So I need to click import to install the file. I'm going to drag and drop that here, and WordPress the plugin is going to do its magic and say, wait a second, import process, do you want to overwrite all your files? I've already backed everything up, so I'm okay with that. I'm going to hit proceed, and now it's going to prepare everything with the clean install for your midterm. Your data has been imported successfully. Awesome. You're going to hit close. And this is a very important step. We just finished, but nothing changed. If you notice here on the top left-hand side, it says my name, Matthew Sean, because that was my install from before. But it did successfully install the file. If I click any of these tabs, it will automatically pull me to the WordPress admin. So if I click anything, it automatically kicks me back out because I have a brand new install. And it's saying, hey, put your username and password in. Now, the username and password for the midterm, for the clean install file you just did, the username is user, and the password is comp, so capital C-O-M-P, and then 5062. It's the course code. So the username is user, and the password is COMP as capitals, and then 5062. Once you hit login, it's going to log in, and we know it's a clean install, and we did it successfully because on the top left-hand side, the name of the website is Clean Test F2018 install. And all the pages I created don't exist. All the posts I created don't exist because this is a brand new install for your midterm. So hopefully that was relatively clear. The biggest difference is that doing it this way, we're essentially taking the database that you created through XAMPP, but we're doing it a lot easier. We're using a plugin to create a new database and connect it versus going through all the crazy steps we did before. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense and is a bit easier to understand. Once you're done your midterm and you've gone through all the steps of your midterm, you've followed all the instructions, you've done everything, and let's just say we've got our content here, and you want to export your final product. You have to do it the same way you imported it. So essentially, you go all-in-one WordPress migration, and you're going to hit export. And it's going to say, where do I want to export my midterm to? So you're going to hit export to file. And it's going to go through the process and gather all the data. You're going to say, I want to download it. So I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to take my file and I'm going to put it in a place where I know where it is. And that is right here. And I'm going to hit close. Now, an important thing, one of the things you'll have to do as you do your midterm, and it will instruct you as you go along, it will tell you to take screenshots, okay? So as you're doing your midterm, it's going to say, take a screenshot of what you've just done and take a screenshot of this, and it'll tell you exactly how to label it and basically go through the process. So I get screenshots of all the work you've done. When you're done your midterm and you have completed everything, what I need you to do is to get your screenshots folder and the export of your midterm, which is that WPress file. You're going to select both of them, right click, and for a Mac, you're going to compress it. For a PC, you're going to zip it, for a PC, you're going to zip it. And then this archive file is the file you're going to upload. So if you go back here and you go to evaluations and in your Fanshawe Online, you hit submissions. Under your submissions folder, there will be your WordPress online test. This is where you're going to submit the file you just compressed, which will have a folder of your screenshots and the WPress file, which is the copy of your midterm, all the work you did. And that's where you're going to put your zip file. So hopefully that is relatively clear. Remember, it's a video, so rewind back so you know exactly what we're doing. But essentially, you don't have to create any new files, connecting WordPress files or anything like that, but you have to make sure that you have a copy of WordPress running on your computer, whether it's through XAMPP or Bitnami. So I've got XAMPP running here, and I've got Bitnami running here. They look very much the same, but they're very different programs. Doesn't matter which one is running, as long as you have an active install of WordPress running on your website, and as long as you can access the backend of WordPress like this, you can install the copy or the clean install of the WordPress midterm that I've got set up for you. So I've gone through the instructions. I'm going to do a little more about the actual content of the midterm, and we'll go from there. So as I said, there's no need to install a new version of Bitnami or XAMPP. Make sure you're using your existing one, and make sure if you've got content on there you download that AllinOne migration plugin and you export that copy of your actual install before you start the midterm, because everything will be lost if you don't do that. And if you notice here in my review, it tells you that the actual username for the install for the midterm is user and the password is COMP5062. Okay, so obviously I'm providing you with students with a ton of time. You've got 3 hours. Now it's obviously open resource, open note, open book. You can do what you want. Obviously, in general, for online students, obviously doing it on your own is a critically important thing with a lot of honesty beyond that. Technically, it says no headphones, no questions, no talking, no sharing files. In reality, we hold you accountable. And if you were copying files from someone else, we do have every file that gets sorted through a program that evaluates the code. So make sure you're not cheating. So beyond that, the midterm content, some key things that you need to be able to demonstrate for your midterm. You need to be able to install a WPress WordPress file via the AllinOne WordPress Migration plugin, which we just went through how to do that. You need to install and activate a theme. You need to be able to remove a theme. You need to be able to install and activate a plugin. You need to be able to write content about the Web 2.0 and the 5th P from week 6 lecture notes from Fanshawe Online. Make sure you're ready and able to read and do that. Be able to create and edit posts, to be able to create and edit pages. Also, to be able to alter posts available. Obviously, make sure you should be able to make any page a static page or the main page of your website. You need to be able to make sure you can change page settings. You need to be able to make sure that you can change widget settings in the sidebar. You need to be able to insert images, multimedia, and videos into your web pages. And the last thing you need to be able to do is to create new menus and alter those menu layouts. You need to be able to zip files or compress them if you're a Mac. And you need to be able to export your database or your website via the AllinOne WordPress Migration plugin. So, like I said, this midterm is slightly revised from previous years, but it is designed to be a bit easier utilizing this AllinOne WordPress Migration plugin versus having to create a whole bunch of chaos connecting the databases in a different way. So if you have any questions, rewind the video, make sure you see exactly what I did. But number one thing is for my online students and my in-class students, you don't have to install a new copy of XAMPP or Bitnami, but you do have to be able to access your install of WordPress, the backend. If you do not have this all-in-one migration plugin downloaded, go to plugins, download the plugin, and then activate it so that you can export the copy of your WordPress if you want it. But you definitely need this to be able to import the clean install for your midterm and then re-export that when you're done your midterm. Hopefully that was relatively clear. Like I said, if you have any questions, email me. Make sure you watch the video, go over it time and time again so you know exactly what you're doing. But good luck. Remember, a test is just a review. That's all it is. And you know exactly what you're doing. I have faith in all of you. Okay? Have a great night. Good luck. And we'll talk very soon.